on your path to seeing things differently. Perhaps after a big new understanding or a tough personal time, you felt a change deep inside. It was like you suddenly saw through all the fake stuff, the constant busyness and the noise, and then just quiet. At first, this quiet feeling was amazing, even freeing. But slowly that sense of purpose, that meaning you once had, started to fade. It didn't happen fast or dramatically. It just slowly slipped away. Like your soul turned down the volume on life and forgot how to turn it back up. You stopped chasing things. You stopped caring as much. Not in a reckless way, just with a quiet, deep sigh like, what's the point? A question started getting louder in your mind. Why do I feel so empty now that I finally see the truth? This is a strange situation. We expect spiritual awakenings to light us up, to fill us with passion. But for so many people, especially those who think deeply, who feel a lot, or who are always searching, it does the opposite. It makes us feel drained. I remember talking to a friend. She was super smart, very spiritual, and always reading the right books. Eckhart Tolle, Alan Watts, Krishnamurti. Then, after a really hard period, she had a huge awakening. She finally got it. She said she saw through the whole idea of who she thought she was, and how her ego was always chasing outside success. But then, 2 months later, she was just staring at her ceiling, hardly able to get out of bed. She told me, "I used to cry because I felt like I wasn't doing enough. Now, I honestly don't care if I do anything at all. I thought this awakening would fill me with light, not leave me feeling so dead inside." Carl Jung, a very important psychologist, talked about this foggy feeling after an awakening many years ago. He didn't use modern spiritual terms, but he truly understood what happens when your hidden inner world starts to become clear. Jung said real enlightenment doesn't come from just imagining bright lights, it comes from looking at your inner darkness. That sounds nice until you realize what it truly means. Awakening isn't the end of your journey, it's the start of a deep inner change, like a psychological death. It's the death of the person you thought you were. Everything that gave your life meaning before, your goals, your job, your relationships, even how you sense time, all of it seems to fall apart. But here's the important point Jung would make. Your ego isn't gone. It's just lost. It doesn't have its old map anymore. And without that map, your drive to do things disappears. So it's not that you're just sad or have lost your drive. You're in a waiting room, an in-between place. You've woken from an old way of being, but you haven't quite woken into a new one yet. And this is where it gets really interesting and often misunderstood. What you're feeling right now isn't a failure. It's not sadness or worry in a clinical way. It's something ancient and very important. Jung actually warned that our modern world tries to avoid this phase at all costs. This sacred pause, this empty space, this in-between time. He believed it was vital for true individuation, the process of becoming your full, authentic self. But nobody really talks about this part, do they? And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. We'll uncover what's truly happening inside your mind after an awakening, and how this loss of motivation might actually be the greatest spiritual step forward you've ever taken, if you understand it correctly. Before we go on, if you're someone who loves to learn new things and dig into the deeper parts of life, make sure to subscribe. This channel is here to help you see the unseen and support you as you navigate the sometimes strange but wonderful path of awakening. So if you've been floating in that confusing space after awakening, wondering where your energy went, no, you're not going crazy. You're going through a deep psychological shift that most people don't have a name for. It's a change so profound, it doesn't just tweak your thoughts, it completely rewrites your inner programming. All the goals you used to chase, your to-do lists, your big plans for the future, the pressure to always be busy, they just don't move you anymore. This isn't because you're failing, but because your entire system for motivation is collapsing. And Carl Jung saw this coming a long time ago, way before it became a popular topic online. Let's break it down simply. For most of your life, your drive came from your ego identity, the me you thought you were. You wanted to prove yourself, be noticed, be successful, be loved. This isn't a bad thing. It's just how people grow. Jung called this the persona, the mask we wear to fit in with others. But the awakening process starts to peel off that mask. Suddenly you're not trying to be liked, you're not trying to win the game, because you can see the game for what it is. And that's when things get weird. Without the mask, your old goals don't fit anymore. They were made for a version of you that no longer exists. So now you're like an actor in a play who has stepped off the stage and can't remember their lines. That's why you feel unmotivated. You didn't lose your drive. You simply outgrew the old fuel that powered it. Carl Jung believed that our purpose isn't to just serve our ego. It's to bring the ego into balance, to connect it with something much bigger. He called this process individuation, the journey of changing from a scattered identity into a whole, unified self. Not the small self that wants praise, but the self that is the deep, soul-level core inside you, connected to everything. And this true self doesn't care about status or getting approval or even always having clear answers. It's here to express truth. So once the awakening happens, your mind starts to reset. It begins to push away anything fake, forced, or based on your ego. This can include jobs, relationships, old dreams, and even that vision board you carefully put together a few years ago. That's why people often say awakening feels both freeing and confusing. But Jung warned, if we stop here, we get stuck. Some people wake up and fall into the trap of spiritual bypassing. They convince themselves that nothing really matters, that it's all just an illusion. So they disconnect, float around, and feel numb. They confuse being detached from problems with being completely checked out from life. But the true self wants something different. It wants to live through you. It wants to bring a deeper, richer reality into this human life. It doesn't reject the world. It simply changes your role in it. To step into this new way of being, you have to go through a strange middle stage that Jung described perfectly, and very few people recognize while they're in it. There's a phase after awakening that almost no one talks about. It's not fancy, and it won't get you thousands of likes. It doesn't look like meditating in a beautiful place or writing deep quotes for social media. It looks more like this, sitting quietly, unable to explain yourself while the world keeps rushing by. Carl Jung would say you're not lost, you're simply in between. You've let go of your old ego-driven identity, but you haven't yet found a new way to live from your true self. This space isn't a failure, it's a necessary step. But in our busy, achievement-focused world, being still often gets called laziness. Pausing gets mistaken for being stuck. So you might judge yourself. And that judgment actually blocks the very energy your soul is trying to bring back. Jung had a special word for this mental pause. He called it enantiodromia, which means things turning into their opposite. When you awaken, your inner balance swings from always striving with your ego to a deep stillness with your soul. You go from, I must do everything, to, why do anything? And this swing is very important. It's how balance returns. In old stories and teachings, this is the phase of the hermit, the death, before a new birth. It's like when a caterpillar turns into a liquid inside its cocoon. It's not a butterfly yet, and not a caterpillar anymore, just a transformative goo. And yes, goo doesn't get things done. It doesn't rush. It just changes. This is where the ego gets scared. It wants action and identity and clear directions. But yourself is gently whispering, "Let go. I'm building something deeper inside you." This is also where a lot of modern spiritual teachings sometimes skip the hard parts. They might say, just follow your joy, or only think positive thoughts. And while positive thinking and good intentions are important, Carl Jung would tell you that if you try to skip the darkness, you miss out on something truly valuable. Jung believed that shadow integration, facing and accepting the hidden, uncomfortable parts of yourself, is essential for becoming whole. It's not an optional extra, it's the main lesson for every human soul. This sacred emptiness you feel is where your unconscious mind finally has space to show itself. You're not failing, you're processing, and your mind is incredibly smart. It will intentionally slow down your motivation, your drive, even your clear thinking, so you are forced to feel, see, and reclaim what you've buried. That's the real inner work. And here's the beautiful part. When you stop fighting against this empty space, something surprising starts to happen. Motivation begins to come back, but it feels different this time. It's not anxious, it's not about putting on a show, it's not about constant rushing. It's something older and quieter. It's a kind of inner movement led by your soul that feels more like remembering what to do instead of chasing it. Jung called this living symbolically, not in a fantasy world, but with soul, where you start to trust your inner signals, your dreams, strange coincidences, your gut feelings as guidance. So what does this look like in your daily life? Sometimes it's as simple as asking yourself different questions. Instead of, "What should I do?" ask, "What's quietly calling me?" Instead of, "What's the plan?" ask, "Where is life nudging me?" Instead of, "How can I prove myself?" ask, "What feels honest?" You start to work with life instead of trying to control it. And this doesn't mean giving up on your goals. It means changing how you approach them. Your ambition transforms into a deep dedication to truth, to being present, and to growing authentically. The amazing thing is, that kind of energy gets things done much more effectively than your ego ever could. But now it lasts. Now it's powered by your soul. This is your true self's motivation, not to impress others, but to express your unique truth. And it often leads you to create, to help, to heal, to teach, and to build, not because you feel you have to, but because your entire being says yes. So if you felt like your inner spark vanished after an awakening, understand that the old fire, fueled by external expectations, had to burn out. It did this so you could find a deeper, more lasting flame, one that doesn't flicker when things get tough outside. Carl Jung never promised an easy journey. And if you're here, listening to this, you're already walking that path. It's not about getting back your old motivation. It's about finding a brand new one rooted in wholeness, not just outer achievement. This isn't the end of your awakening. It's the beginning of becoming your truest self. If this message resonated with you, if it helped you understand something you've been quietly going through, please leave a comment below. I'd really love to hear what this journey has been like for you. And if you want more content like this, where we look at psychology, soul, and self-awareness in ways that actually make sense for your everyday life, make sure to subscribe. Because awakening isn't the end of the story. It's where your real story truly begins.